Yeah, baby, you know what time it is. Now let's get it started.
Are you kidding me? Unreal!
While our HBCUs are mostly known for academic rigor, community, they also know how to turn up.
Does he have it? Yes, he does!
And that might be the knockout punch.
All right, greetings and salutations. As y'all can see, you can say I'm on location. It's Thanksgiving, so y'all kind of know what it is. Post Thanksgiving dinner, but I did say I was gonna do the podcast, so making sure I did that. Not a lot to go crazy over, but we got a few things to talk about. But before we get started, big shout out to CableBustersTV.com, one of our title sponsor, and HBCU Digital Network. This is home. And y'all know if you see the mic in my hand, I'm definitely not at my home studio. I'm definitely at my mother-in-law's house. So find a nice little quiet spot just to do the pod for the day, but touch on a few things. Got women's basketball. They got a game coming up. That's going to be against the University of South Alabama, November 27th. That's a Sunday game up in Mobile. So about a 3-hour ride on the bus, maybe 4 because it's a bus, but not a bad ride. Also, the co-SWAC champion, co-SWAC regular season champions, and SWAC tournament champion, 2-time SWAC tournament champion, FAMU volleyball team, NCAA tournament. They're going where they're going. I don't know what to tell you, bro. We don't know yet. More than likely, if you listen to ONG Strike Zone yesterday, I told you I give credit where credit's due. I was a history major in college, so I try to give people their just due. Coach was on their show, and he mentioned more than likely it's going to be in the Gainesville regional, which I hinted at in our last show, that they try to keep the teams regionally located. So it's either probably going to be UF or Florida State. In this case, it's most likely UF, and I'll be honest, it's not. I don't want no smoke with the Gators. That is not a program that I want first round of the playoffs because they're good. I mean, not saying that we're not a good team, but if you're playing the Gators, you're playing a really tough opponent, and it's gonna be a tough get. So we're gonna see what it looks like, what it is. But going into today, we got our final results for the football season, 9-2, and we might push our kind of look back at the season to Sunday show. But for today, we're going to just kind of give a quick look back and from our last conference calls. And I was fortunate. I got to also get into the SWAC calls and ask some of the coaches some of the calls. And man, it was a 9-2 season. And everyone's kind of talking about the same thing. FAMU getting snubbed from the playoffs, not making it. And the greatest takeaway from the season, I mean, those are kind of my big things. I mean, again, we're going to kind of look back, but a lot of this is going to be a little bit of that last bit of the playoffs. Like I'm after this week, I'm not going to talk about playoffs anymore. We're moving on to next year and recruiting and things like that as far as football. But when it came up to it, I mean, that was the ongoing question. That's the frustration, and why didn't it happen? I mean, you have a 9-2 season. You have teams who had 4 and 6 losses, and as I mentioned in the previous episode, and I hate to kind of keep quoting myself, but there's no respect for the conference. I mean, that's we can dress it up, we can make it look sweeter than what it is, but in layman's terms, there's no respect for the Southwestern Athletic Conference. I mean, you're pretty much telling us we're weak, and that's what we got out of that. I mean, it's not a slight on the conference, but it is what it is. The other questions that we got, and I'm going to take some of these questions from the calls and give them directly to y'all. What could be done to prevent this in the future? And you all are now hearing, hey, maybe the MEAC conferences need to set up their own bowl system similar to the FBS or FBS level, and do that at the FCS level and just have it something where you're completely separate. Again, a couple people have mentioned that. Scotty mentioned it. Dr. Cavill mentioned it as well. If you're not checking out those two guys, you're in the HBCU landscape. just gonna let you know what you're doing. Like Dr. Cavill is a wealth of knowledge, and we're not even on the same network. He don't pay me. He don't really know me like that, but like Dr. Cavill is a wealth of knowledge. You should definitely check out that brother. Very knowledgeable guy. And he's like that's a great idea. I secondly, I made a statement that the SWAC needs more representation. That was something else that was stated. There's no seat at the table. And so if you're not going to have a seat at the table, nobody's going to look out for you. There's no reason for these other conferences to not put in their teams and put in a team from the SWAC. I mean, it's just not. And you just kind of got to have that mindset. Like, find a way to monetize the HBCU system such that either the NCAA has to respect it or you can do your own thing, because the SWAC is normally one of the leaders in attendance. If you get that attendance into the playoffs and into other areas, that's more revenue for the conferences. And we saw that. That we definitely saw that. And look, but that being stated, it's kind of, it is what it is when it comes to that. I'm not going to overly gripe and complain about it. My day to be mad about that was really on Sunday, and that's part of why y'all saw me make some of those slips. But it was cool to see the unity within the conference. That was something I did see. I sat in on the SWAC call, as I mentioned, and I'm not trying to say that for like whatever. I'm just using that as a point of reference. And Coach Prime, Deion Sanders, mentioned like he already stated he would rather go to the Celebration Bowl over the playoffs, largely because of the monetary reasons. But he also pointed out, both in a tweet and in a statement, it didn't make sense why FAMU didn't go to the playoffs. I mean, Coach Simmons has advocated for this program. He has. And Coach Prime followed lock and step. And that was something I liked. I appreciated, because, I mean, I'm not going to lie to y'all. There's really no reason for him to advocate for FAMU other than the fact that that helps their strength of schedule in the future. But it just it didn't make sense. It didn't add up to a lot of us. And I asked Coach Simmons a question. I asked him actually in the SWAC call. I didn't even ask him on the FAMU call. What was the breakdown from FAMU potentially hosting a playoff game to not being invited? And again, I love Coach Willis Simmons' candor. I love that when you approach him, he throws a wave. Even if he doesn't really know you, he's like, "Hey, how you doing?" Like, he at least tries to be very hospitable. And he was like, "That's something more so for administration. That's above my head." And I appreciate him being honest about that, because he could have went up there and tried to wear that F on his chest and be super FAMU guy, and that wasn't the moment. Like, be real about what your limitations are and what your capabilities are. And honestly, he was honest. And none of us have gotten a really good answer besides strength of schedule, which, okay, this, that, and the third. Long story short, you have conferences that made sure theirs were taken care of. I mean, as I told y'all before, when I was heated on Sunday, because for me, I felt like it was an insult to my intelligence as a fan, and it was a slap in the face. I mean, just to quote one of my favorite football players, Cam Newton. I mean, that's a slap in the face. And it was. It really was. But at this point, all you can do is now to get ready and prepare for next year. And some of that is, really want to see who FAMU's going to play. And you can see FAMU and the SWAC. Albany State won their conference, and I think they were a top 5 seed in the playoffs last year. Yes, they're Division 2, but still. Then you had UNC, who's about to go to the NCAA tournament. I said tournament. ACC They're the ACC division champions. They're about to go to the ACC uh, conference championship game. Here we go. I digress. I'm sorry. So FAMU's schedule is actually decent. Now, we did not always look good playing against teams, and that's something that I pointed out throughout the season. If you listen to the podcast, I've stated we did not look good against this team. We did not look good against that team. Were we playoff caliber? No. Were we playoff deserving? Yes. It's not about stuff. Like I can do whatever I want, but this game right here is decided. We're gonna win. And to a certain degree, you have a the legacy fan base. We are spoiled. We are very used to success, and we're used to success and abundance. And then you give me 3 seasons of success, and Willie Simmons has never had a losing season at FAMU, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong, but I'm fairly confident in saying he's never had a losing season. So the man's never had a losing season. And, and you're gonna tell me that okay, he don't make the playoffs. Like you're saying something about the FAMU brain at that point. Like you disrespectful. And so that's kind of what scheduling. Coach Simmons like, y'all want us to go play North Dakota State and some of these other teams, but it's not fiduciary. It's not financially responsible. And you're at a university where we're telling Florida State play the University of Southern California, something to the effect of them saying we'll never do that again, just because of the effort and how much it took for them. If you're not, you got to keep me state. I'm just being real with you. I'll go to that game. I didn't go this year because the weather was supposed to be jacked up. It turned out not to be. But in a regular year, even when they were in the Orange Blossom Classic, that was a game I was gonna go to just because it's Albany State. That's a regional rivalry. That's a team that I can justify saying, all right, it's a little bit of something there. Fort Valley, not as much, but still, I can still justify that. It makes sense. Whereas FAMU playing FAMU playing take your pick. South Dakota State. I mean, I would go because I only think about that, that you gotta, as Coach mentioned, think about the financial implications. I mean, some of that was that, hey, we're trying to help those lower division teams out. It's all well and good, but at the same time, your attendance going throughout the season. So it was in another space. And kind of to be stated, the playoffs are not FAMU's goal. We understand this. Anybody tell you otherwise is a liar. Like FAMU's goal is not to make the playoffs; it's to make the Celebration Bowl because you make money going to the Celebration Bowl. You lose money going to the playoffs. I mean, that's as simple as it is. Unless you're hosting, you're spending money. So it's got to be stated. We're chasing the dollars just like Jackson State and anybody else is. So you got to kind of keep that in mind and keep the regional. You want the regional rivalries because those teams are going to bring some of their fans too. Not a lot of North Dakota State fans are traveling to Tallahassee, especially in the summer. And honestly, I can't blame them. And when I say the summer, if you're not from Florida, that last bit of August, early September, it's still the summer. Despite what the clock tells you, it's 100 degrees, and the humidity in Tallahassee ain't fair. She pick on everybody. She don't care black or white. It's hot. So that's something else to think about. So again, the season does end, and I give credit to Allison Posey. She asked a question, what was the message to the team? Coach is like, I'm proud of those guys. You know, continue to work on the classroom, share their accomplishments, and kind of starts to flip the page. Senior meetings are going to be coming up after Thanksgiving, per Coach Simmons, and he's going to bring this issue up to the FCS Coaches Committee. I appreciate that. Thank you for advocating for your players because as a fan, I ain't gonna lie, my pocketbook is not hurting for not spending the gas money to get to home, but at the same point, my heart, my orange and green, that little itty bitty rattler in me that's eternally gonna be a fan is saddened because the season ends in on the classic. You don't get to see Isaiah Lamb play another game. His career ends essentially against Alabama State. Now, the season, General Hunt doesn't get to play this last game of the season. It's just, it didn't sit well with me. And again, that's not coach's fault. That's nothing against him. It just felt like FAMU should have had a shot at the playoffs again. Uh, you know, Mr. St. Clair asked a great question about was this related to last year's stuff, and coach like, I don't know, as far as the playoffs, but it's just one of those big things. Like, that was one of my big questions. So we kind of started looking into next year, and I asked coach, what are some of the positions of need that you're going to get, that you're going to need, because you're losing Xavier Smith, the only receiver in the SWAC up until earlier today that had 1,000 yards. I did not check. I just caught the end of that Turkey Day Classic where UAPB defeats Alabama State at home on the Turkey Day Classic. That can't be a good thing if you're their fans. But I mean, their coach had some comments. I asked him a question. But looking for transfers in high school students. The offensive line is going to be a big position of need. The center, you're also going to need a few running backs potentially. But he's looking for an explosive back. So some folks are kind of looking like, well, why aren't we offering this running back or that running back? You're looking for a running back a lot more similar to Bishop Bonnet. You want more Bishop Bonnet, less Big Kenny Williams. Because those running backs have a place in this offense. You like what Terrell Jennings, you like what Jalen McLeod did, but you really like what you saw at AJ Davis. You really like what spring game you saw at Leland Willoy. You like what you saw out of our running back for Rickard. You don't have that guy that can cut on a dime and leave you 3 cents. I mean, you don't. You got you have guys that are more of plotters, and the way that we run our offense, the way that the offense is structured, the way that we utilize the shotgun is not conducive to a running back that's larger, that may not be as quick. You need quicker backs. You need more quick than fast right now. And right now you have more build up, running backs who have to build up to top speed, not that quickly get there. And because of that, by the time they get to the line of scrimmage, they're not quite at their top speed. Whereas when you do utilize the pistol, as you saw in the Florida Classic, and you even saw Musa go under center, those running backs, we threw the ball. There was a play action that Musa threw. I believe that was a touchdown to Xavier when he was under the center. I could be misspeaking, but my memory ain't that bad. But it worked. That's something we need to see more of. That was, to me, that was good film to put out there. The quarterback room is going to need a little bit of rebuilding just because McKay's pretty sure to be gone. I've heard some say he's done with football, but I would speculate he might transfer. Don't be surprised. But kicking room, you're gonna need a kicker. You have one kicker on scholarship, and that's a freshman. And he might have redshirted. I don't know if Brooks redshirted or not. I hope he did though, because I don't think he played in more than 3 games. And that's our kicker from Leon. But you've also seen there's a kicker in the transfer portal for East Tennessee State. He's a Lincoln High School graduate. So kicker and punter are gonna be positions that you're definitely gonna be looking at. I'm gonna speculate that you're gonna go to the transfer portal for a kicker or a punter just because I don't know how accurate Brooks is in practice. He looks solid pregame. Again, I get to see how the kickers are in pregame, so they're all really cool. But you haven't seen him with just the light on him all the time. He's the guy. He's the man. He's got a big leg though. I will give Brooks that. He's got a pretty solid leg, but how is he going to line up? So I speculate FAMU takes a kicker and a punter, just to have 3, so that way, if your kicker's not hitting field goals, then you can rotate one for the other. And if one has a bigger leg, you can use one for kickoffs and a little more specialization. But that's just where I'm looking from there. Offensive line, I think you may go more high school there, just because most of your linemen are coming back except for the center position. You're probably gonna get 2, maybe 3 JUCOs guys. The defensive line, another place where I think you may actually go a little young there. Secondary, I don't see you doing a lot. I mean, you lose BJ Bowler, that's huge, but by the end of the season, BJ is kind of in the nickel more than he is a boundary corner. Kendall Bowler is the guy, and I don't remember Courtney Cox is a senior or not. So that's going to be a question there. FAMU's loaded safety. We didn't play a lot of our safeties, and I think all of our linebackers except for Fagan come back. And by season's end, even though Fagan was my favorite guy at the beginning of the season, he's not on the field. So it's going to be interesting to see what you get out of that. You do have the emergence of a young defensive end, but I also speculate because Cookman's line ain't the best. Like he ate, he went stupid. But I think FAMU does take a defensive end out of the portal, maybe a JUCO defensive end. But I also would not be surprised if we take a few guys out of high school. But this is the last group of COVID kids, so that's going to affect how many students you recruit. And in my humble opinion, I think this is a great year if you are going to try to go a little heavy on high school. This might be that last year where you get a lot of high 3s and 4s. Like we're giving a lot of credit to 3 and 4-star students coming to HBCUs because of what some are calling the Dion effect. And it's got a little bit to do with it, but it's got a lot more to do with the fact that a lot of these colleges did not get rid of their high school seniors or their college juniors and seniors and kept them COVID kids. So, I mean, we got to keep it a buck and we got to be real with what it is. It is what it is. I mean, we're going to be real, but that's going to be the next thing, recruiting. And during the summer, I asked Coach selfishly, it's like, you coming back to Orlando? Because, man, they had the Central Florida event here and it was awesome. And Coach said, yeah, we're going to try to make that a yearly thing. So if you're a coach in the Orlando area, and I'm going to say from Tampa to Orlando, keep your eyes on Twitter with Coach Respris and talk to him. Reach out to him because he's recruiting. And at that event, Coach stated there were some issues with it last year. He didn't run from it. He stated that we're going to try to streamline the process. We're going to try to make it better because I'm not going to lie to you. Registration last year was trash. It was the first year doing it, though. So it's not that, HBCUs ain't got their ish together. It's not that. Because I've told you, I've stated multiple times. When I worked at Florida State, we switched financial aid systems. The first year we had lines. The second year we didn't. Not as bad. That's all it is. Your first year, you're gonna see kinks in the armor or chinks in the armor, whichever you want to say. Fix those as best as possible. Maybe streamline the registration process, automate it as much as possible. Give the students like a QR code or something like that so that they can print it out and almost do something similar to what you would do on online websites where you can buy tickets. I'm forgetting the name right now, top of my head, but allow the students to purchase a ticket online, you know, give them, $40, $50, whatever the price is, provide the students with a meal ticket and an entrance ticket. That way, this is your entrance ticket. Then at lunch, you get a meal, and it's a double thing if you want to do it that way. If you just want to say bump this and hey, we'll just take care of the recruiting stuff, you feed yourself, you can do that as well and just have some vendors out there. I think that's probably the best way, and just tell every student to bring $10. But yeah, that's really what it is going to be. Like as far as football goes, recruiting seasons now. It's recruiting season, and you're seeing the offers up going up. I have not kept up with them for about a month just because a lot of stuff's been going on, but I'm gonna try to catch up next couple days, and especially before that early signing period if I can. I know it's coming quick. Like Family's got 3 commitments already. Hopefully they stick, but we got early signing coming in. We also had the basketball team had 2 signings recently, so you got more coming in there. It's an interesting time of year. I did not talk about men's basketball because I mean it kind of we'll see, man. They just got their first win though. Men's basketball did get their first win over Albany State, but that was a tough watch. That's why I didn't talk about it because I didn't want to be fussing about it. And yeah, but man, FAMU's got a lot to look forward to in this off season, and you know, a lot of the schools are. It's not just FAMU, and hopefully SWAC Media Days are going to be awesome because each coach, I got to talk to a few of them, and I mentioned, Alabama State, and he talked about how it felt to coach at home. But every school is looking for a lot of the same positions. Alcorn State, I asked about recruiting there, and Coach McNair was like, "I'm looking for quarterbacks, offensive linemen, defensive backs." I talked to Coach Sims again. I talked to him post game, and that is one of my favorite coaches in the SWAC. I love that dude is just he takes it on the chin. Like he's like, "These are the results. I did what I did." And in recruiting, he's looking for offensive line. I mentioned to him about his quarterback. I said, "Yo, dude, I like your quarterbacks." Post game, he defiantly was shot at Hale Wildcats out there, and it wasn't like it wasn't him saying it to like he said it with his chest. And you're seeing that program, he's got some good foundations. Is he going to get to finish it? Is going to be a question. So there's going to be a lot of questions as far as HBCU football that are going to be coming up in the next couple of weeks. But I'm looking from me to you. The BCU job is a question that I'm going to be asking about if I'm just in the atmosphere. Obviously, as a FAMUan, it's not my greatest concern, but it is a concern. Do you get a new coach in there? Because honestly, if you're looking at that second half of the Florida Classic, they look good. So, and that's one question. Then, secondarily and additionally, if you're FAMU, what's going on with our coaches? What coaches are going to stay? What coaches are going to go? Because if you've noticed, for the football program, we've had coaches get poached by other athletic programs for the past 2 years. You lose last year, I think we lost 3 or 4 coaches going into the season. This year, who are you going to lose? That's going to be a question. I think you keep the defensive coordinator, but I do think some of the other coaches are going to step up. You may have another co-defensive coordinator situation just because that zone that we're constantly running is getting eaten up. I mean, it's our base defense, but if some things don't change, that's going to be a defense that you're not going to be able to just rely on talent and beat other teams because you have a really great defensive line. You're gonna have to make some changes, make some movements, and make some adjustments because every team that's got a mobile quarterback can't be killing you. That's what's happening. And so it's going to be interesting to see. And interesting to talk about going into the season. But we're gonna make that switch, man. Football season's over. Once recruiting hits and National Signing Day hits in about honestly 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks, we're gonna go fully into basketball and baseball and hopefully catch some of those games, man. Again, I've already been to FAMU women's basketball, and I told y'all before they beat Georgia State, this team looks a lot better. I watched that men's basketball game. Don't do it to yourself. If you haven't seen it yet, don't do it. That game goes to overtime against Albany State, and Albany State really could have won the game. I'm not gonna say should have, but they could have won that game. And man, at times the shot selection is not quite there. At times the shots don't drop. But man, they wanted it more than we did. We just were able to wear them out. And man, this is a year. I said it once, I'll say it again. This is a critical year for both of our basketball coaches. For Coach McCullum, it's huge because you just had a good year last year. So I think if this season is as bad as I think it is, I think you get a pass. I do. I think you get a mulligan just because this schedule's hard as hell. Like, just let's not even let's keep it all the way funky and be like, yo, the men's basketball schedule's tough. Women's basketball, though, this is where Coach Pillow is going to either get a resign or renew. And don't be surprised if this season continues to turn into what it's turning into come SWAC tournament season. You're going to see a renew with that. And you're going to have some interesting conversations because we got a month. We got a month in about 2 weeks, and we're going to have a new athletic director. And she's going to want to put her stamp on this. And Madam Athletic Director, there are going to be some questions that are going to be asked of you and some things that we're going to ask you to help fix. And this isn't a question of your expertise. This is just saying, yo, we're gonna be looking to say, hey, can we boost revenue some? Can we do some things to make sure that these students are eligible? And Coach Simmons hit on it. Yo, postseason, we're gonna work on this stuff with students and NCA stuff. So there are gonna be some things that are gonna be asked in two of our AD, which honestly, within the time frame, I don't think is fair. I don't think she's being given the proper amount of time to properly do what she needs to do because you're asking her in the middle of the year to, you know, really do so much. And then before she knows it, that new fiscal year is going to be there. So I think that it's going to be a critical time for her, and I'm here to support y'all. As y'all saw, I saw her. I got a picture of her. I took a picture with her, and I shouted her out like, "Yo, I appreciate it," because you didn't have to stop. You could have been like, "Dude, go away." I'm just trying to enjoy, but she was so awesome. I'm really cheering for her as a person. And, you know, just because I think it could be some great change. And that's a part of that is what we need. We need an athletic director that's going to push that. And in the idea of pushing funding, if you saw the FQ FAMU and Fangs Up podcast Twitter page, you saw, hey, I gave FAMU a little bit of money. It was $15. But I'm going to challenge you and anybody else that Black Friday is tomorrow. Don't sit up here and complain about what FAMU is and ain't doing. Don't complain about it. If you're not going to donate, don't complain. Send them $15. You will blow $15 at McDonald's tomorrow. You will. You going to spend $15 on a lottery ticket tomorrow. Look, I dropped a 20 on a lottery ticket. I ain't gonna lie. I ain't trying to work tomorrow. I'm not trying to work next week. All respect to my boss. I like you, boss. I like you, boss lady. But I don't like them kids. I don't always like them kids. I like some of them, but I don't always love my job. I would love to be able to go and vacate to the south of France. And I'm with you on all that. I can give FAMU the money that I would spend on a lottery ticket. Give FAMU $15. Let's challenge our FAMU league to give $15 a piece just this month. And then when the new year starts, or Chromel, for Chromel, give FAMU another $10 or $15. Because it doesn't sound like a lot. No, it's not a lot. But if we can get 1,000 of us to give $15, $10, that adds up. You get a certain amount of us to give 10, 15, 20, $30, all of a sudden it adds up. And when coach is sitting there saying the flight is $100,000, all of a sudden the money that we've just given to athletics in an unplanned area or unplanned time, now that covered that flight. Then all of a sudden that can go towards building facilities and other things like that. But we have to continue to support the program if we want to see growth. I'm not saying recklessly throw money at the problem. That's not what I'm asking for. But I'm just saying, again, I'm not asking you to give me the money. I'm not. I'm saying give FAMU 10 or 15 on Black Friday. Support a Black business, which is a Black institution. Go back, give to your university because it's going to help. And if you want to see it on the film, on the field, like we've seen, FAMU is a 9-2 team. We've seen groups like the 2020 Club that are being investors in the programs, and we're seeing the health, the recovery stuff improve. All of a sudden in the season, we have fewer injuries. Yeah, you have dings here and there, but because the investment in the program, now all of a sudden you saw the results on the field. If you want to keep winning, you got to keep investing. And at certain points, it's going to be an arms race until we're able to find and create our own program that can be a responsible NIL or focused NIL for FAMU athletes and athletics. It's going to take just giving to the athletic program, building up the facilities so that we can replace the field house. We can upgrade the facilities. We can make this into a Division I institution that we're all proud of. So that's my soapbox. But happy Thanksgiving, happy Turkey Day. I didn't eat turkey today, and I might not. We did non-traditional this year. Y'all like to be a little bougie, like to be fancy. So we did crabs and shrimps and all that. I cooked it. That's why I ain't changed shirts yet. Like I normally got my FAMU shirt. I just went for a black shirt that I could mess up and not care about. So, but always, y'all, happy Thanksgiving. Thank y'all for this season. Because of you and all of y'all that have been watching, man, doors have been open that I have not been able to open on my own. So big shout out to y'all. As always, though, title sponsor is cablebustertv.com. Also, HBCU Digital Network. This is home. And next week, Herb, I'm looking at you. The basketball spaces should be opening up, and we are getting into the thick of HBCU basketball play, and obviously the SWAC championship games, NCAA, and the Celebration Bowl, as well as other things are all going to be coming up. So pretty soon it's just going to be basketball that we got, and then baseball season. And not all HBCUs play baseball. So good times, man. Hopefully I shall see y'all out there. And as always, it's going to be Fangs up.